Well, and then they were four, and unfortunately, India isn't a part of those four teams. But here we are talking about the New Zealand-Pakistan encounter, an encounter I'm pretty sure all of us must have watched, and just seeing our hopes crumble in front of us, it must have been quite an experience for all of us. We've got Soumi and Neha joining us, like always. Hello, folks. क्या लगा
Hello,
मतलब
hello.
नेहा Soumi, whoever wants to start can start, but भाई साहब क्या ही बोले इस मैच के बारे में.
यार मेरे को तो था कि like genuinely I was rooting for Pakistan, and that is not because I wanted India to go through. I was genuinely hoping that we will at least have one Asian team out there. It's a World Cup in Asia, and unfortunately we don't have any of the Asian teams out there. So really unfortunate. So I was hoping कि किसी तरह से यार पाकिस्तान तो qualify कर जाए, and also all the more for Fatima. I mean, after all, losing a parent and coming back, there was a huge amount of emotion going out to her, and hence I was really rooting that Pakistan takes it through. But can't do anything if they don't help themselves.
Of course, they clearly did not help themselves. But Neha, what were your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I mean, just heading into this match, there were so many expectations, right? Such a anticipated match. It had the potential to, have so many consequences for India, for Pakistan, and New Zealand. Like Group A was just, this very interesting melting pot where a lot of things could have happened, but the match didn't quite live up to that sort of an expectation. I mean, New Zealand did have a very tough start with the bat, and I was very happy with the way Pakistan was bowling. I think yesterday in our in our review show, we were talking about how Pakistan has such a stellar bowling attack. So we can expect them to, come out all guns blazing. And with the addition of Fatima Sana as well, we were expecting a good contest there. But what was Pakistan's batting there? I mean, Muniba was, just going out, getting those boundaries. And then the moment she got dismissed, it just felt like Pakistan's innings just like decimated, entirely just broke down. And I mean, Fatima Sana tried her level best with that knock of 21, but it wasn't enough. And even just talking about Pakistan's fielding, like 8 catches you drop. I mean, just looking at the match from a very neutral perspective, objective lens as well. Not from this Indian fan perspective कि हाँ Pakistan को जीतना है. But I think even Pakistan themselves would be like so disappointed with this sort of a outcome. And I think when Fatima Sana was talking about how a lot of seniors have to actually step up and take responsibility. मतलब ऐसा target was not like impossible or something they couldn't chase, right? At one stage they did look like they could have, but then just those loss of wickets, I think, entirely derailed their campaign. And yeah, we see New Zealand having made it to a semi-final after what 2016. You could see how happy Sophie Devine was, and rightfully so. But I think we will discuss more, about how New Zealand also has their own set of problems to contend with as they head to the semi-finals, and let's see how that kind of pans out for them.
Yeah, and again, to be honest, we all knew that chasing that target down in 10.4 overs wasn't going to be easy, but probably kudos to Pakistan for at least making that effort, because we know quite a few teams who wouldn't have even bothered trying. क्या क्यों मतलब try करके कुछ risk करना है. Of course, before we go further, let's have the match summary out. There you go. New Zealand won the toss, and like always, matlab, especially in Dubai, we've seen how difficult it is to chase, but definitely not as difficult as Pakistan made it look. But especially in the night games, so New Zealand won the toss. No surprises. They opted to bat first. Got off to a weird start, I would say, because Georgia Plymouth continued her good form from the last game, but Susie Bates, like always, wasn't able to really score those boundaries. She ended up top scoring for them. 28 of 29 is what she got. Drew Halliday and Sophie Devine also stitched together a nice little partnership towards the end. But yeah, their innings never really went anywhere, which is why all they could muster was 110 for 6, which, given Pakistan's batting, seemed just about par. A total that Pakistan would back themselves to chase. Then we saw Alia Riaz open with Muniba Ali, and we knew कि boss ठीक है, मतलब ये लोग तो 10 ओवर में खत्म करने के इरादे से हैं. 10 ओवर में मैच खत्म तो हुआ, सिर्फ फर्क है कि रिजल्ट अपने हित में नहीं गया बस. Fatima Sana top scoring for them, 21 of 23 is what she ended up with. Muniba Ali with a quick 515 was the sort of quickest of the lot, and that was a nice little cameo there. Unfortunately, she would have wanted to carry on a lot further, but Leah who cut short her innings. Yeah, let's start with the first innings, that fielding effort. Matlab, Shumi, आठ कैच कौन ड्रॉप करता है यार? तीन कैच एक ओवर में कौन ड्रॉप करता है? सी आई अंडरस्टैंड इफ द कैचेस आर डिफिकल्ट और समथिंग, ये तो स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड, लाइक ऐसा भी नहीं कि
अच्छा।
दीस वर स्कायर्स, एकदम स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड, हाउ डू यू ड्रॉप सो मेनी?
और सिर्फ वही नहीं, जो कैचेस पकड़े भी है वो भी एकदम नसीब से पकड़ लिया, कि 3-4 बाउंस करके जैसे भी वो हाथ में आकर गिर गया है, एंड इट जस्ट स्टक, द बॉल जस्ट स्टक, द बॉल सेड कि नहीं, अब मैं कहीं नहीं जा रहा हूँ. तो दैट इट वाज अ केस लाइक दैट. But yeah, beyond that, I mean, honestly, I was following a lot of the game through this course. I was on the way to come back home. But yeah, the way it looked like to me initially was that definitely power play was going really well. I mean, 40 run बना लिया था power play में. And उसके बाद when the runs got restricted, because I wasn't really reading through the commentary, I was thinking that, oh my God, Pakistan is really killing this, and they have a total chance here of making this through. But then, of course, when we were discussing, and then when I started watching the game and the highlights, it actually occurred that, how they have messed it up. I mean, I would say that yes, brilliant bowling effort to just restrict New Zealand to another 70 runs, just 70 runs post the power play in spite of so many dropped catches. But yeah, had they not been so messy, and maybe just maybe a 20 run shot or a 15 run shot of what New Zealand actually reached, it could have been a very different game if they had attempted to go that all out with the bat. I mean, that's my perception, and what a golden opportunity lost.
Golden opportunity lost for sure. People citing lack of game awareness. Did they really have to go for the kill? Meha, again, you can't fault them, right? Like, they won't be playing the game thinking of India's chances. They would be thinking of their chances. And for them, all there was ki boss, agar hame semi-final पहुंचना है तो हमें 10:30 ओवर में खत्म करना है. So would you fault them for that? Yeah, do you think they should have been smart and just gone for the 2 points?
Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, Pakistan was playing for pride. I mean, the kind of campaign they've had, it has definitely not gone according to plans. We've spoken, at length about how their batting department has not quite, understood the assignment and, have faltered on multiple occasions. So today would have been a good occasion to kind of, pace their innings, pace that sort of the run chase. Not again thinking of India or anything. अपने बारे में सोच के they could have, kind of approached that. And we saw a lot of interesting changes even in their batting, right? We had Alia Riaz, who was promoted at the opening spot, which did not last very long. She's out for what? A three-ball duck. I think we were discussing again, matlab, should she come in at 3 or 4? Probably that could be an ideal place for her instead of whatever, that number 5 or 6 position. She was coming. But Pakistan clearly did lack that sort of a game awareness. I mean, they could have really gone for the win. This would have been that sort of a perfect end. At one stage, I think where Fatima Sana and Nida Dar were batting, as like, can this be that sort of a fairy tale ending, to their campaign? Just ending with a win, it would mean so much to everyone involved. I think so many memes are being made about their men's team. The women's team scripting history here would mean so much, right? But that was just not the case. And even the running between the wickets just seemed very off. Like, matlab, they looked nervy from the start. It wasn't like they were chasing a massive total. Case in point, India, when we were playing against New Zealand, it was a massive, massive total, and there was pressure from the get go. But here, had they just negotiated that power play and kind of just given themselves some time to kind of just construct that run chase properly, I think things would have been really different. A missed opportunity for sure. And yeah, credits to New Zealand, man. I mean, at one stage, probably they would have thought कि शायद ये total कम होगा, but the way they came to actually defend it, Amelia Kerr and Eden Carson as well. So I think they would really be happy with this sort of a bowling performance. Gives them a lot of confidence, heading into the semi-final as well.
Shomi, you also wanted to say something?
Yeah, I mean, I completely disagree with what Neha just said. Doesn't often usually happen this way, but yeah, I was completely like backing Pakistan in terms of their intent. And had they not have chased this in 10.4 overs, what's the point? What's the point of hanging in there and getting those 2 points if it doesn't take them anywhere? So the intent was completely on point, and that's where I felt that the skill was lacking. They wanted to go all out. They were trying to go all out, but they definitely did not have the skill. It wasn't really like a matter of nerves. The nerves set in a lot later once they had lost those first 2 3 wickets. But it wasn't really a case of nerves. It was completely a clear display that they did not have the right amount of skills to sail the innings in that particular manner, in to really accelerate it out. So that's how, I mean, it was perceptually, it felt to me.
Just one thing to add to that, sure, Pakistan did not really have a lot to play for. अगर वो 10.5 ओवर के लिए नहीं खेलते, 2 पॉइंट लेके तो घर नहीं जा सकते. But what they could have taken home was the bounty that they would have received for each group stage win. So ICC this time around had also increased the prize money for every group stage win. So it was about 25 lakhs Indian rupees, which was about 90 lakhs Pakistani rupees per group stage win. So my question then is, कि boss, और कुछ नहीं तो यार, 90 लाख छोटी रकम नहीं, 25 लाख तो छोटी रकम नहीं. मतलब 25 लाख हम अपने करेंसी नहीं सोच रहे बॉस. अगर जीतो, especially for women's cricket, when Pakistan women's cricket financially hasn't been doing great. There were so many talks doing the rounds before the World Cup began that पिछले 4 महीने की पगार नहीं मिली है. There are no daily allowances being given to the players during the camps and whatnot. So again, better sense should have prevailed. Sure, maybe as a tournament it was done and dusted, but that win could have actually meant a lot more. And importantly, defeating a side like New Zealand in the World Cup is also no mean feat. मतलब अच्छी बात है यार, तुमने किया है तो वो भी अच्छी बात है. So that's where I felt they probably could have been smarter. Sure, I do agree कि शुरू में intent दिखाना जरूरी था just to give themselves a chance. But once they lost a couple of wickets, तो रोक लेते यार अपने आप को. You should have given yourself time till, I would say, when Iram Javed got run out. I would have been like, then I would have pulled the plug कि बॉस अभी यहाँ से हटाओ, 25 पे 3 है अपन लोग, यहाँ से अभी हम लोग 10 ओवर में तो नहीं जीत सकते. बट नहीं, सिद्रा अमीन जिसका स्ट्राइक रेट, करियर स्ट्राइक रेट 90 है, उसको लगता है पहले आके रोजमेरी बैट को छक्का मारेगी. अरे यार, मतलब थोड़ा तो रहम करो यार, खुद पे कर लो, अपने नहीं तो कुछ नहीं. That's where I felt they were lacking. Sure, you started off with the right idea, and Muniba Ali also began with a couple of boundaries, so it did seem like, who knows, they might actually be able to pull it off. But once you lost those couple of wickets, you should have, just taken stock of the situation and accordingly adapted. That's where I felt they were very rigid. It seemed very clear कि बॉस वो प्लान करके आए थे कि हमें तो यार ये चेस करना, हमें तो छक्के चौके मारने, बस छक्के चौके तो दूर की बात है. And again, it didn't help that New Zealand were catching everything, were feeling very well. Special shout out to Izzy Gay's fantastic keeping from her as well. That stumping of Nida there is no joke. Again, very well done on her part. Very quick handwork there, glove work there. But now coming to the first innings itself, New Zealand, the way they batted, यार मतलब और कुछ नहीं तो आज Team India fans we were rooting for Pakistan to see India go through. हमें भी थोड़ी शर्म तो होनी चाहिए यार. मतलब इस टीम को जिन्होंने 8 ड्रॉप कैचेस देने के बाद भी 110 पे पहुंचे, हमने 160 कैसे कंसीड किया यार नेहा को?
Yeah, I think that was one of the glaring questions that did emerge from that sort of a batting effort from New Zealand, right? I mean, they had a great power play, I'd say, but somewhere they just could not quite, capitalize from there. Susie Bates looked very stuck, She's just not able to get going, was not able to accelerate as well. And again, due credit to Pakistan's bowling. I think the way Nashra Sandhu bowled was brilliant, right? She picked up like 3 wickets, was excellent in her line and length, was actually able to, generate so much from that pitch. And it was quite remarkable to see. Even now, I think, the way they were able to get those wickets, they didn't let any of the New Zealand batters settle, right? Amelia Kerr was dismissed early on. Sophie Devine herself was, kind of piling on the dots. I think, again, on the comms, they were mentioning that this might be the perfect time for New Zealand, kind of accelerate, get those runs. But I think New Zealand just could not quite get their batting template right, which has kind of been the pattern for them in other matches, barring the one versus India. And even I think in the end, Maddie Green got that knock of 9, but there were like no boundaries at all. She was just struggling so much to, just get off the blocks there. So I think New Zealand wouldn't entirely be convinced with that sort of a batting effort. But I think just taking into account the conditions and the way Pakistan was bowling, and we have, rated Pakistan's bowling attack quite highly. So it wasn't really surprising that, they couldn't get past that 110. And also coupled with that, I think the way Pakistan was fielding, right, just so many dropped opportunities, which was so unfortunate for them. And you could see how frustrated Nida there was. मतलब एक ही ओवर में तुम 3-4 drop कर रहे हो, and you can't tell anything to the captain, right? So things were getting a little tricky there. But I think Pakistan has a lot of soul searching to do in terms of their batting, in terms of their fielding effort as well. I think bowling is definitely the one silver lining they can take away, but it's just there are a lot more questions for them to address going ahead.
Yeah, and show me again, all in all, given New Zealand's effort as well, do you think they will be confident of themselves entering the semis? Because, of course, it makes for a great story. Sophie Devine, Liata, Susie Bates, all three of them playing well last World Cup. In fact, the three of them also did a group hug at the end of the game, and there seemed to be a tear or two rolling down their cheeks. Story अच्छा है, लेकिन मतलब end मिलेगा? Will it get the ending it deserves? आप म्यूट पे हो. Very well done. First time, I guess, in the World Cup, so not bad.
Yeah. So, there are two sides to it. One is, of course, it was Dubai, and the stage was all set for New Zealand to actually go out and play their best cricket out there. Didn't happen, which definitely puts New Zealand on the back foot. Now, what's still interesting for me from the point of view of New Zealand is that, see, in spite of the fact that they had come into this World Cup in the, having a huge string of losses, they were not great in any of the bilaterals. But when they come in here, they still win those clutch games. They still win those big games, which is pretty dimensionally opposite to what we had seen from India. Not just the women's team. This is also the reality of the Indian men's team before the 2024 World Cup. So that's where the beauty lies. I mean, they can still make big games count. And if they just follow on this template, if they just follow on this mindset, definitely they can go one step further. Are they the best team to go there? Definitely not. They have not been the most prominent sides coming into this World Cup, and we have discussed that at length. So yeah, I mean that's where the situation lies. If they have the mindset, and if they can actually convert these clutch games in whatever way possible. I mean, it can be the opposition's fault. It can be they excelling at one particular point of time during the game, but it's all about finally winning that one.
Yeah, and also tomorrow's England West Indies encounter will be crucial for the Kiwis. So Kiwis did not only watch yesterday's game, they'll also be keeping a keen eye on tomorrow's game, because the winner of the game tomorrow will essentially play New Zealand in the semi-final. So if England wins, it's England versus New Zealand. If it's West Indies that wins the game, then it'll be West Indies versus New Zealand, because that would mean South Africa get knocked out and England finish first. And I mean, West Indies finish first because they already have a better net. I mean, marginally better. Sorry, England have a marginally better net run rate than West Indies. But West Indies किसी भी margin से जीते, you would imagine इतना तो वो आगे बढ़ जाएंगे. So West Indies would then finish first. England would finish second. On the other hand, if England win the game, they'll of course finish first. South Africa finish second. So West Indies versus New Zealand, that will be an interesting semi-final once again. You don't know who can win. Like on that day, either of these two teams can defeat the other. Well, of course, we'll get to tomorrow's game in due course. Neha, final thoughts on Pakistan's performance? I mean, they will have to do a bit of soul searching, sure. But at the start of the tournament, we'd spoken about them during the team preview, saying they can expect 2 wins. They did get the one, could have gotten the second if not for all that, sort of harakiri in terms of trying to go for the kill and all of that. What do you make of it overall, though?
Yeah, I mean, Pakistan certainly did not have the ideal campaign. I mean, they were in the group of death with some of the toughest teams, so we didn't expect them to, kind of qualify and make it to the semi-finals. But we did expect probably, a win or two here and there, kind of boost their confidence. They've blown hot and cold in the kind of series they've had before, coming into this World Cup. But this World Cup as well, I think their batting, of course, has been a cause for concern. They will have to actually, come up with proper plans and strategies and give role clarity to their players. Come up with a proper batting order. मतलब एक मैच में तुमने एक player को opening में भेज दिया. Number 3 में you're changing someone. You don't have a set finisher. Nidadar is coming so low in the order. And even I think Fatima Sana is someone who we have been vouching for to come up much earlier, but is being brought in much later. So they will definitely have to look into that, and some of the senior players actually have to step up. It's time that they kind of or it's time that the senior players step up, or you will have to look at replacements from their domestic circuit as well. But again, just looking at it from their bowling perspective, they have a lot of positives to take away. And also, I think one of the common trends with Pakistan has been the lack of stability in their playing 11 and the selection as well. That is something they will have to address, I think, across their men's and women's team. But because the focus is on the women's team, I hope there is some sort of a reevaluation into that. And also, like, back end issues bahut hai, matlab, the lack of payment to their players on time, the daily allowances, as you also rightly pointed out. So it's probably a culmination of all of these factors that kind of led to this sort of a performance. I mean, again, we were not expecting them to make it across to the semi-finals, but they will have to, definitely address these issues if they actually, want to be contenders going ahead, because you have a World Cup coming up almost every year. So they will need more consistent performances from a core group. I think identification, of that core group will be important. And I hope this World Cup has given them some sort of an indication of where things are headed. And we get to see that sort of a fairy tale redemption arc going ahead.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's an ODI World Cup coming up next year, and that's being hosted by India. That's next November, if I'm not wrong. And then the next edition of the T20 World Cup will be in the summer, in the English summer of 2026, hosted by England, of course, naturally. So let's see how Pakistan progress from here. India की तो खैर अभी मतलब कल जो बात करना था कर लिए. But there is an interesting question here from Subhashi asked us if England or New Zealand beat Australia, should we consider that as an upset? न्यूजीलैंड maybe yeah, इंग्लैंड तो डेफिनेटली नॉट यार. इंग्लैंड मतलब नॉट जस्ट अपने दिन पे इंग्लैंड तो करती है अच्छा यार. It's a very good team, and if England versus Australia happens in Sharjah, England spin quartet would be more than happy to bowl against, I would say, slightly depleted Aussie batting lineup. So देखते हैं क्या होता है वहाँ पे. Rahul, of course, going on to say कि it will be an Australia-England final and Australia is going to win the tournament. Mark my words. यार मार्क करने वाली बात तो नहीं. अगर तुम बोलते कि it's going to be an India-Australia final and India will win the tournament, then it's worth marking. Australia winning the World Cup is expected. आप कुछ unexpected बोल रहे हो तो मार्क करेंगे. Expected चीजों पे क्या मार्क करें? ये बताओ, ये सही है. But yeah, I mean, before we move on, last question: can Harmanpreet Kaur continue her job as India's captain? That's the big question. What do you make of that? Soumi, let's start with you. Do you think India will potentially look past Harmanpreet Kaur, the skipper, given that this tournament wasn't the greatest of successes, and Harmanpreet Kaur's own form? I know there were a couple of 50s towards the end, but all in all, how would you look at this?
I think if I would have to look at white ball captaincy, that's still something that the management will have to look at, considering that the next World Cup is just a year away. Do we get a new captain and then groom that person up for taking up such a big role? It's a home World Cup, it's a ODI World Cup, big stage. So a lot of things are in question there, and especially what I feel is that especially in the India team, the thoughts of grooming the next leader is still not there. Though we do see Smriti take up the role of a vice captain, and we do see her as somebody who is matured over a period of time, especially after RCB's WPL win. But is she completely groomed enough to become the India captain? We still don't know. Now, considering that part, that whether the entire white ball captaincy needs to be relooked at, then that's a question that needs to be answered. But yeah, for sure, the next T20 World Cup in a couple of years, I think that will be a little too much, because she's already pretty much at the at the verge of the end of a T20 career, at least a international T20 career, if we may say so. But yeah, I think overall white ball captaincy, something that, or at least the ODI captaincy, something that we should be, we can consider Harman for, but T20 next World Cup, no, for sure not.
Yeah, I mean, she's already 35, turns 36 in a few months, so she's definitely not getting any younger. Sorry, Neha, what do you make of that? Because even Deeksha here goes on to say, if Harman decides to retire in ODIs post the next World Cup, who's the closest to playing her role? Scares me to think that we don't have a replacement. Before that, thoughts on Harman, the skipper itself. Do you see India potentially looking past her at the end of the World Cup? I mean, now that it's ended.
Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, this was something I was contemplating in the morning, like the kind of backlash that the team has received after the performance. And a lot of questions were being raised on Harman. Matlab, she played that sort of a knock. Again, a lot of criticism about how she paced her innings and everything. Yet, it was a captain's song, and a lot of people were, there were two sides of the debate as well. So it's a really tough one to answer in all honesty. But I think Harman still has that sort of hunger, to go for that World Cup, because I think that is one thing that has eluded her cabinet. In fact, the Indian team cabinet at large. So I think the kind of backing that she has from the team management, I suppose they will still, want to keep her at least till that next ODI World Cup. But maybe after that a decision might be taken on the white ball captaincy, because I think that would be the most ideal time to kind of groom a potential successor. And I think in all likelihood Smriti Mandana looks all set to kind of don that sort of a role. I think even looking at the leadership group, you have the likes of Jemima Rodriguez, who's kind of emerged beautifully in that setup, is taking up a lot of responsibility. You have Deepti Sharma and a lot of these characters in play as well. But I think I think Diksha's comment was about she's scared of how we don't have that sort of a replacement. I think we still have, Smriti Mandana, who can take up the reins if needed. But I think India won't do anything, like at least the management won't do anything very reactionary right now, because the World Cup campaign has just ended. Harman was, in fact, one of the top run getters as well. Probably, we can discuss each of those knocks, very separately as to the context of the match and did it really help India and all of that. But at least right now, it doesn't look like they are going to look for a change in cap. Probably after the ODI World Cup at home is when we'll have to see how things go there, and then probably take a decision going ahead.
Yeah, and also in terms of Harman's role as well. So Diksha did speak about how she thinks there aren't too many people who can fill Harman's role in the side, not just as a captain, of course, as also someone who can close games out, especially against the big dogs. देखो big dogs वाली बात तो ठीक है, that only comes with experience. But about Harman's role in the middle order, I feel we have enough batters making the right noises in the domestic circuit. Yeah, so one name that I genuinely want to watch a lot more of is Kanika Ahuja. I've always spoken highly of her. I genuinely think she's got um, a lot of that X factor quality in her. She accesses areas that are unusual to a left-hander. Also, her being very short, she knows how to maximize that to her. She knows how to maximize that to her advantage. So that's good as well. So I want to see more of her. There are a few other names. Himlat as well. I still do believe कि बहुत potential है, बहुत potential है. A great spin hitter. It's just that it didn't click at the right time, and it was just the perfect storm. Yastika Bhatia got injured. Dylan Himlata could not make the most of her opportunities, and India did not play for the last 2.5 months. Not using these as excuses, but just saying it was the perfect storm, and let's hope India learns from it. They can't use that as a curtain to hide behind. They can only sort of learn from this and move forward. Yes, Neha.
Yeah, and to just add on here, I mean, looking at the domestic circuit as well, you have the likes of Shweta Sehrawat, who's been doing quite well for Delhi. I think she's one name to watch out for. Primarily plays as an opener, but I think if she can slot herself in that middle order, it would be a value add for India. I mean, Harman's shoes are big to fill, but I think just talking about not her retirement from the game entirely, her just stepping down from captaincy. I mean, I think she still has a little bit of cricket left in her, and the moment the burden of captaincy is taken away from her, perhaps we will see a very different version of her. Because even looking at Smriti Mandana and whatever limited opportunities we've got, like, got to see her through the WPL and in her India stint as well, I think she's a very calm captain, right? And Harman, you see, is very aggressive, बहुत गुस्सा आता है generally, like if fielders are dropping catches, you can see her kind of getting very riled up. So maybe that captaincy ka burden agar nikala jaye, तो I think we'll see a very different Harman who will still have a lot to offer. So I think let's not, go into that retirement sort of thing so soon. But I think captaincy, yes, India can look into that. Yeah.
Yeah, and sorry,
Yeah.
Soumi, you also was saying something.
No, I think exactly the same thing that she does have a lot of cricket left in her. So there's no, we are not really discussing her retirement at this point of time. Plus, if you have to ask me personally, I love Harman as a batter. Do I love her as much as a captain? Maybe no. But it's just the personality trait, and it's very personal to me. But yeah, I mean, her batting is definitely something that has added a lot of value to that Indian batting depth. Now, coming to the question of is there a replacement? All we are discussing at the moment is there a replacement of Harman as a captain? If we look into the batting bit of it, as you rightly mentioned, Akshay, that there are people and there are people who are coming up in the domestic circuit. Plus, also, if you're looking at a couple of years from now with the WPL progressing, I believe we will start getting a lot more of those options coming in as or evolving as power hitters, not just WPL, but the different franchisee crickets that are going around the world, and Indian participation growing there gradually. I believe that part will be taken care of, and it will only evolve in this next couple of years.
Yeah, completely agree. Like, I don't think we can use WPL as a barometer so soon. Like we spoke about earlier as well, इंडिया को 17 साल की आईपीएल लगी भाई एक वर्ल्ड कप जीतने में. तो डब्ल्यूपीएल को तो इतना तो मौका दे दो यार, 17 साल दे दो. मैं यही बोलूंगा, सिंपल. India won their first World Cup before the IPL began, and it took 17 seasons of the IPL before they got their second. In between, we saw sides like Sri Lanka, Pakistan, West Indies, Australia, England, everyone else win. Barring, of course, the quintessential, I would use the C word. But yeah, I do think, I mean, what I do want to see is, will the women's team take a leaf out of the men's team's hat? Because now you see what the men's team has done in the last couple of months post the World Cup. It's a new look squad, new look setup, filled with youngsters, filled with people who just love to bash left, right, and center. I'm not saying pura change kar do, but I want to see if India also tries to, include a few of these names. So, of course, Neha mentioned Shweta Sehrawat. There's Kiran Navgire, who's already played for India. Solid spin basher. I do agree with Jeet in hindsight that maybe someone like a Kiran Navgire instead of Dalan Himlata or Yastika Bhatia would have made more sense. Solid spin basher on these surfaces. Unki jo weaknesses hai, which is hard lengths and pace and bounce, affect nahi karti because these pitches weren't conducive to that. She could have actually been, very effective. There is a name, again, a very underrated name according to me. I know she's not played too many big knocks. Poonam Khemnar, really like what I saw for in the WPL. बहुत potential है, बहुत ज़्यादा potential है. Again, has those sweeps, reverse sweeps, accesses areas that you don't often see. I look for that. So when I talk about T20 batting, for me it's all about unorthodoxy. Not all about. For me, it's a lot more about unorthodoxy than just sheer boundary hitting. Because WPL के boundaries अलग है, pitches अलग है, तो boundary hitting बदल जाती है because of surfaces. If you are unorthodox, it means you are willing to adapt. जैसे surfaces होते हैं उसके हिसाब से तुम adapt कर सकते हो. तुम्हारे पास scoops है, reverse sweeps है. I saw that with Poonam Khemnar. Then of course there are a few more. अभी India series में भी saw Raghvi Bish. So names are coming up. The domestic structure is definitely acting as a very solid feeder system. Now it's all about whether Team India is willing to take a punt or two on any of these youngsters. देखते क्या होता है वहाँ पे. But all in all, again, not the greatest of tournaments. Let's hope India only learns from here and moves on, of course. Darshan saying she is good, not really a youngster. Youngster bola kya maine? I just said inexperienced. Did I say youngster? Oh, then I stand corrected. She's by no means a youngster. She's 29, 30 if I'm not wrong. खेल रही है वो काफी time से. Fair enough. Thanks for correcting me, Darshan. But yeah, so that's that in terms of Team India. Time for us, of course, to also talk about tomorrow's game. Team India की काफी चर्चा कर ली हमने. What is coming up tomorrow? Well, it's a very important Group B fixture. It's England taking on West Indies, and that game's coming live from Viva International Stadium at 7:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time, and that also happens to be the last group stage game. At least it's nice that till the last two group stage games, we did not know who the top four is going to be, who the semi-finalists are going to be. So in some sense, we can take a bit of solace from that. But of course, the surfaces and all of that did not really help. But England, West Indies. Neha, let's start with you. क्या लग रहा है यहाँ पे? Because we clearly know both sides would want to register a very good win to ensure कि बस momentum उनके साथ हो come the semi-finals.
Yeah, I mean, this match is going to be that virtual knockout game, and I think a lot of people are just ignoring Group B because they were so obsessed with Group A and all the kind of matches in the teams here. But just looking at Group B, I think the way the matches have actually turned out. Let's talk about England, man. Matlab, the kind of campaign that they have had, winning, all of their matches so far, and the kind of combinations that they've put up in each match, and the way they've clinically outplayed their oppositions has been quite fascinating to see. And I won't be too surprised if they actually go for the win tomorrow as well, to kind of end their group stage on a high. And England is also kind of riding that sort of a momentum. मतलब बहुत जीत के आ रहे हैं, and they've had a great World Cup so far. So I'm pretty sure, they are in good stead. They will look to, again, go for that win. They have a lot of their players, coming into like their peak form right now, which will, augur well for them. And even West Indies, for that matter, I mean, they're also looking good. Again, we have spoken time and again about how they're heavily dependent on Hayley Matthews to deliver. But somewhere you see, the bowling unit also kind of step up. And this team was showing some, vibes of that 2016 unit, jo on a given day can actually, take the game entirely away from the opposition. That's what makes this such a mouth-watering clash. And definitely, a lot to look forward to, and we don't know where this match is going to go, what it's going to mean for Group B. So a lot to look forward to. And yeah, I'm backing England for the win. It seems like they have all of their departments sorted, so yeah, wouldn't be too surprised if they win.
Yeah, agree with you there. And also, apart from this momentum and all of that, there are two very real reasons for both sides, or at least one very real reason for both sides to actually go for the kill. West Indies, of course, are playing this game to ensure that they survive through to the top four. If they win, they go through. If they don't, they're out. With England as well, it is important that they win this game, because should they lose the game, given the very tiny NRR deficit between them and West Indies, it would in all likelihood mean that West Indies qualify to the semis as the toppers of Group B, which means England will play Australia in the semis. So if England win the game tomorrow, it means they will be the toppers of Group B, which means they get to face New Zealand, and they'd be more than happy to face New Zealand right now than Australia. So again, the lots at play here, lots at stake. It's not just about Kiwis momentum. It's not just that. Sorry, Neha, you were saying something?
Yeah, just to add on, I mean, I think England was one of the more well prepared teams, heading into this tournament. They had a lot of preparatory camps in Abu Dhabi, and John Lewis ensured, they kind of got acclimatized to the conditions, and they actually did a lot of homework, in trying to understand these conditions. Unlike some teams, who were practicing back at their home
India.
venues. Back at their home menus and everything with game scenarios and all of that. So credits to England for that. Plus, I think England would really want to prove a point considering their history, with knockouts in ICC tournaments. They've come so close yet so far, and we've seen enough heartbreak images, that England would want to just go that extra mile, not just qualify for the semi-finals, but eventually, head to the finals and defeat Australia in all likelihood. So they definitely have a lot at stake, and I think this match would, really give them that sort of a comfortable space.
Show me again thoughts on tomorrow's game, because clearly there's lots to play for both sides. Kya lag raha hai?
Yeah.
How do you see this game panning out?
See, of course, England start as favorites. They are unbeaten in this tournament, and as Neha mentioned, they have really checked all the boxes. They have had a good batting. They have done some great spin bowling. They have had some good, success in terms of pace. So I think they are literally one team who have checked all the boxes and gets into this phase with a lot more solid confidence. And of course, they had a huge amount of preparation backing them. But just if I have to support, I would bank on West Indies. And the reason behind that is, of course, they are underdogs. And beyond that, the intent that they have shown right after getting that thrash from South Africa in their opening game, they were absolutely crashed in that game. But they came right back into the next game with a whole lot intent and absolutely just excelled from there. So they have been only going up. So they really have a very good graph going up. So that's the point. That's the reason I would back them. Of course, England start favorites, but if West Indies gets there, it will be such a spirited thing to watch. And somewhere I feel with this, I mean, you need that kind of a spirit to stop the Australian juggernaut. I mean, they are so just unstoppable at the moment. Does it take something very unorthodox like what West Indies has to stop them? That's something that's all there to watch out for.
Yeah, and it's interesting that way. I'll be rooting for England tomorrow simply because South Africa को जाते हुए देखना है. According to me, they've been the better of the two between them and West Indies. Moreover, मेरे को एक फर्स्ट टाइम विनर तो चाहिए यार. मैं हमेशा ये बोलता है, अगर अपनी टीम नहीं जा रही है तो मेरे को एक फर्स्ट टाइम विनर बनता है. तो न्यूजीलैंड इस तरफ से आ गया, उस तरफ से साउथ अफ्रीका आएगा तो मेरे को परवड़ेगा. I also think should
Padwadega.
South Africa make it, South Africa stand a much better chance of beating Australia. West Indies would find it a lot more difficult. I'm not saying South Africa are favorites. I'm saying compared to West Indies, they have a better chance of defeating Australia. Simple. But of course, talking about the specifics itself, Neha, England in the last game against Scotland made a couple of changes. It was Sophia Dunkley who came in, did not really play a role, did not get to bat. And then there was Lauren Bell. Tomorrow the game's in Dubai. Do you see them sort of going for the reverse swap in Lindsay Smith and Alice Capsia, or do you see them sticking to this 11?
No, I think in all honesty, they would want to present their best playing 11, which would, again see Lindsay Smith, come back to that bowling, that spin quartet, because I think she adds a lot of value. And this is a must win encounter for them, right? So I don't think they would want to really experiment with that, because Scotland ke khilaf, I think they pretty much knew it was going to be a win, as much as, Heather had kind of just was telling ki हाँ मतलब T20s में anyone can win, but they of course knew that it was going to be a win for them, because they kind of experimented with their playing 11. But this is a must-win encounter. They really would want to put their best foot forward, and they will kind of revert to that same playing 11 and just go for the kill. Yeah.
Also, show me, what do you think would England sort of, I won't say strategy, but ideal situation be? Do you also see them sort of trying to win the toss, bat first, and take it from there?
I think, yeah, just the way, I mean, what we had discussed, I think the day before yesterday, the crucial games, get win the toss, bat first, put runs on the board. That way you have a much better, the nerves part of it taken care of. So I think it should be the same kind of a template. And with respect to the playing 11 as well, I believe that they need to go back to their best 11. I mean, Lauren Bell to kahin pe bhi fit nahi hoti yaar.
Interesting. Okay. And Neha, again, final thoughts on West Indies themselves, because they last played against Bangladesh in Sharjah. So you did not see Chanel Henny being as effective as she had been against Scotland. Do you think, if Chanel Henny is able to replicate what she did in Dubai the last time they played, openers agar hat gaye to bhai, matlab that's a very, very, very big blow to England. Sorry.
Yeah, definitely. Because I think just looking at the way the England openers have been performing, right, versus Scotland, they were absolutely clinical. And the manner in which they got there, when I think those openers are coming in with a lot of confidence, Danny Whitehorse and Maya Bougie. I mean, the kind of synergy they have is brilliant. And that's why West Indies would be hoping to, kind of break that sort of a partnership, so they can, it opens up a lot more possibilities, because the middle order and the lower middle order hasn't really been tested as much, and they haven't been exposed to very difficult situations in this World Cup. So probably Chanel Henry can be that sort of a player. But again, just briefly looking at West Indies, matlab, there was this injury concern for Stephanie Taylor. I think Hayley Matthews spoke now last match about how she's nursing an injury through the tournament. So I'm not sure what would be the mindset. Like an injury player ko tum leke ja rahe ho. I mean, she's the X factor for West Indies, has served the team for so long, and is a definite value add. But then, is she at her full fitness to play is going to be that bigger of a concern for me. Say West Indies is batting first, they would want to put up a massive total, and Stephanie Taylor will be one of those players who will have to step up and deliver. Even Deandra Doughton, I think Sophie Eccleston was talking in her presser, I'm looking forward to my battles with Deandra Doughton. I've played so much with her and now against her. So, I think those sort of matchups will also be quite interesting. But England, yeah, in all fairness, would want to, get to a great start with their openers. And yeah, they have the rest of the batting to, get them to a competitive total if, they're batting first.
Also, any changes? Because last time around against Bangladesh, they did bring in Mandy Mangro, but again, did not really play a role, did not get to bowl, did not get to bat. Now that they're going back to Dubai, Chitty Nation, matlab spinner ki zarurat nahi hai, to wahan pe, do you see them making any sort of a change there?
Yeah, I think they might potentially make a change, based on the conditions. But I think Mandy Mangro also just made her debut. मतलब एक match के बाद तुम player को drop कर दोगे, so that might also be kind of tricky to see. So yeah, I mean, wouldn't be surprised if they do kind of make the change. But I think if they go in with an unchanged playing 11, that would also kind of keep them in good stead. And she's someone who would be unknown to England as well, right? मतलब उन्होंने videos देखे होंगे, but they wouldn't have experienced her firsthand. So that could kind of also be the surprise element. So yeah, that also.
Chalo, theek hai. And also, West Indies are coming off an extended break that way. They played their game on Thursday, or rather played their last game on Thursday. So that's a nice 5-day break. Prediction time: England, West Indies, Dubai. Show me, kiski taraf?
Yeah, my head is saying England, but I'll support. I'll cheer for West Indies.
Okay, all right. Optimism, वहाँ पे. Optimism from you as well, Neha.
Yeah, I mean, in all fairness, you would want to kind of back the underdog, and West Indies, has come in, has played that brand of cricket, so you would want to kind of back them. But England, yeah, matlab, I know they've defeated us. A lot of Indian fans will hate me for saying this because of the 2017 ODI World Cup loss. But I think England has just faced so many heartbreaks in the recent past. They have such an experienced core group of players who have been performing time and again. And I think for Heather Knight too, right? As a captain, this would be like a massive, massive moment if she can actually get her team into the semi-finals, potentially into the finals, and all the way to actually, defeat that Australian juggernaut. Very bold of me to assume that Australia has already made it to the finals, but that just goes to show the kind of quality of cricket that Australia has been playing, right, since that 2017 World Cup. So yeah, I mean, definitely would want to back West Indies. Would like to see a new winner, as you rightly said. But in all fairness, I think England does look like the better oil unit. And I think, yeah, they would definitely have a point to prove. And starting with this match, I think it would really set them up well for the rest of the tournament.
Yeah, and to be honest, I'm also backing England here simply because एक था कि इंग्लैंड पिछले एक दो मैचेस में आराम से चिल करके खेल रहा था. अभी उनको पता है there is something at stake and they have prepped well. They have a solid side that's also in form. So I don't see them slipping up right now. So yeah, I will be backing England, and let's hope England do make it, because that would also mean South Africa go through, and I'd much rather watch a South Africa Australia semi-final. Anyways, that's that from today's preview slash review of the games that we saw. We began with the review of the New Zealand Pakistan encounter. So for those of you joining in late, do check that out. And for those of you joining in late, of course, you must have also seen the preview of tomorrow's game. Please make sure to hit the like button if you haven't already. We will be back tomorrow discussing the four semi-finalists, कौन कहाँ खेलने वाला है, कौन किसके साथ खेलेगा, and a lot more apart from tomorrow's game itself. Until then, it's a goodbye from all of us. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye-bye. See you.